Hello guys, welcome back to Anime Moments. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Against the Gods based on novel. So let's start explanation. Uncle Shia, in Black Moon headquarters? Here? Yunche was stunned. Half a year ago, after he returned to Floating Cloud City, he had first went to Shia Manor and found out that Shia Hongi had left a long time ago to search for Shia Yuanba, who had not been sending any letters. The servant who had remained at Shia clan told him that Shia Hongi had taken out something shaped like a black crescent moon when he was tidying things up. At that time, he suspected it was a thing related to the Black Moon Merchant Guild, and if that was so, then he assumed that Shia Hongi was probably searching for Shia Yuanba through the Black Moon Merchant Guild. He never expected that he had actually remained within this Black Moon Merchant Guild. And this was not just a Black Moon branch that could be found throughout the profound sky. It was the legendary Black Moon headquarters. Someone that was able to stay here was definitely not an ordinary figure. The relationship between Shia Hongi and Black Moon Merchant Guild was in no way simple. If you wish to see him, this old man can personally bring you to him now. He'll surely be delighted to see you. ZG said with a chuckle. Yunche's expression became incomparably complex. After being silent for a long while, he slowly sat down and said, "Has Uncle Shia been doing well here?" Only he himself knows if he's been doing well or not. But at least here, everything is stable, and he would not be bullied by anyone. ZG replied. Yunche nodded, and said half to himself, "Then that's good. Knowing that Uncle Shia is safe and sound relieves me. I was the one who took Yuanbao to Blue Wind Profound Palace, and it was also me who took him to Heavenly Sword Villa. If he had remained in New Moon City, the things that happened afterwards would not have occurred. Without having found Yuanba yet, I don't have the face to see him. Senior Z, talk to me about Yuanba." This junior could not be any more clearer about his strength, so how could he have shocked half of Divine Phoenix City? 2 years ago, a youth from another nation arrived in Divine Phoenix City. After the first day he arrived, as well as every other day after that, he went to challenge those famous sects within the city. He challenged sects. Yes. Unfortunately, his profound strength cultivation was too low, and was easily injured severely by the other party. But on the second day, he continued to challenge the sect with a body full of injuries. The outcome was obviously injury upon injuries. On the third day, he still went to challenge that sect and had actually been struck to the brink of death due to the other party's impatience. Even though his profound strength was feeble, his physique was exceptionally abnormal. He was obviously near death with heavy injuries, but on the next day, he still was able to stand up and dropped in once more to challenge them. There was even one time when the other party had beaten 2 enormous bloody holes on his body, yet he still didn't die. At first, everyone thought that he was a lunatic, but as the days and months passed, no one considered him to be a madman anymore. It was not rarely to see someone who strongly pursued strength, but being strongly attached to that extent, even if it's this old man, it was the first time ever. Yunche. In the 3 months he had stayed in Divine Phoenix City, his body was riddled with heavy injuries every day. There was practically no place on his body that was left intact, but he still dragged his heavily injured body and went to seek out opponents that he simply could not defeat. Among the ones he had challenged, there were inevitably a few impatient ones, or perhaps malicious ones who wished to put him to death, but no matter what kind of heavy injury he received, he had actually never died. In those 3 months, the people's view of him changed from ridicule to that of shock, until that day after 3 months when he suddenly disappeared from Divine Phoenix City. There was not the slightest trace of him even until today, so he has probably been forgotten already. However, this old man believes that he was not secretly harmed by another, otherwise, he would never have escaped Black Moon's eye. Yunche's heart became incomparably complex. Even though Shia Yuanbao was especially tall and appeared to make one feel oppressed, under Shia Hongi's nurture, he had an especially gentle temperament and a simple nature. Furthermore, he was always unwilling to fight against others. However, the Shia Yuanbao described by ZG was actually a lunatic, through and through. He was very clear on the reason why Shia Yuanbao had suddenly changed. Senior Z, thank you for telling me all these. I'll be troubling you with everything else. Yunche said while standing up. ZG also stood up right after, and said with a laugh, "No need to be polite, it is our Black Moon's honor to have the privilege of servicing our esteemed customers." Yunche understood why ZG was so courteous to him. Since the Black Moon Merchant Guild had developed up to today, it naturally had an established reason for its existence. Toward those with extremely high innate talent that might possibly rank within the profound Sky's Peak experts, Black Moon naturally would show preferential treatment. Not only would their service be at its utmost respectful, they were even eager to make the other party owe them a debt of gratitude. Oh right, Yunche suddenly thought of another matter. I don't know if Senior Z has heard of the Netherworld Udumbara flower. The Netherworld Udumbara flower was one of the 3 items Jasmine needed within 30 years. She needed a Netherworld Udumbara flower, 3 Tyrant Profound Beast cores, and 35 kilograms of purple vein divine crystals. Netherworld Udumbara flower. A pondering look emerged on ZG's face. After a short while, he said slowly, "This old man knows of this flower. It is an extremely yin, demonic, and evil item. It only grows within extremely wicked places, and would only bloom once every 24 years, then wither 3 days later. This flower is frightening, let alone touch it. Just being near it would allow the netherworld's aura invade one's body, and damage the soul. If the effect was light, it would make one lose consciousness. If heavy, it would make one a living dead person, even so much that one would lose their life. Apart from this, I have never heard of any positive value to this flower. Why are you looking for this flower? Junior naturally has a special use for it. If Senior knows where one is, I'd like it if you'll inform me about that as well." ZG thought for a while, then shook his head. The last written record of a Netherworld Udumbara flower was 1,300 years ago. After that, there were no more written accounts nor rumors about it. The human race within the profound sky continent is continuously increasing. Nowadays, there are more than 4 times the number of people since 1,000 years ago. As a result, the yang energy of the entire continent has greatly surpassed the yin. Perhaps the Netherworld Udumbara flower has thus become extinct in the profound sky continent. I thank Senior for telling me this. This Junior shall take his leave. After unexpectedly learning about some news concerning Xie Yuanba, even if it made his mood a bit heavy, it had at least comforted him somewhat. No wonder he was never able to find any signs of Xie Yuanba within Blue Wind's borders. It turned out that he had actually come to the Divine Phoenix Empire after leaving Heavenly Sword Villa. In terms of profound strength level, Divine Phoenix Empire was after all, a place that was far higher than Blue Wind. Did he come here to seek strength in his extreme sorrow and self-blame? And little fairy, where exactly are you anyway? Divine Phoenix Sect. The date of the 7-nation ranking tournament grew closer and closer. Feng Shichen's mood also became more and more impatient by the day. The scene of that day's humiliation never stopped upsetting his mental state. After he had finally informed Feng Shiming about the Yunche-related matter yesterday, he had become even more restless. Because what he had described to Feng Shiming was a world of difference from the truth that happened several months ago. Even though he was certain that Divine Phoenix Sect would absolutely not pardon Yunche if he were to truly come to Divine Phoenix City, he was unable to worry about Yunche possibly mentioning the events of that day during the ranking tournament. If the events of that day were to be made public in front of thousands of eyes, the brand of humiliation would not only be carved into his soul, it would be carved onto his face from then on. The door was pushed open, and a tall figure, accompanied by a scorching heatwave, stepped in. The anxious Feng Shicheng quickly turned around. Just as he was about to get angry, when he saw who had come in, his surging fury was panicky taken back, and he hurriedly made a frontal salutation. "This son greets Royal Father. You may rise." Feng Hengkong lifted his hand, and got straight to the point. "Shiming has already told us in detail about what you had experienced in Blue Wind Nation a few months ago. Although you have concealed it till this day, it is still pardonable. We are not here to blame you." Feng Shicheng said hurriedly, "This son thanks Royal Father for his kindness. It's just that, even though Royal Father does not blame me, this son nevertheless feels even more ashamed and unresigned." HMPH. Feng Hengkong's face filled with rage. "We also never thought that a little Blue Wind Emperor would actually have such guts. Rest assured, in not even 3 years, we shall retrieve back 10 million times the humiliation you received in Blue Wind for you." At that time, you will be handling the punishment of that Blue Wind Emperor. As for that Yunche brat, HMPH, didn't he say that he was participating in the ranking tournament? Very good, we just so happen to be waiting to see how he'll tumble. Feng Shicheng was half delighted and half in panic. This son thanks Royal Father for his deep generosity. This son's humiliation is but a small matter, but the matter of our Divine Phoenix sect's bloodline is even larger than the sky. How about taking care of that Yunche in secret before the ranking tournament? No need. Feng Hongkong swung his hand and said in extreme disdain, how is a little profound practitioner from Blue Wind fit to be especially targeted by our Divine Phoenix sect in secret? That's simply lowering our Divine Phoenix sect status. The 7-nation ranking tournament has always been our Divine Phoenix sect show. If there is no source of laughter and sense of balance, it would be quite dull. We actually hope that this Yunche could display a little color when that time comes, and not let us down. What Royal Father has said is extremely true. Feng Shicheng said while lowering his head. Shicheng, what is the result of the theft in Phoenix Jade Hall we have told you to investigate? As he mentioned this matter, Feng Hongkong's complexion changed to become distinctively overcast. This son has discovered the person behind the theft. Just as Feng Shicheng was in the middle of speaking, Feng Hongkong fiercely turned around. Who is it? Who exactly is this audacious, to dare steal from our Divine Phoenix sect? The reason why he was furious was not merely due to this person's audacity, but rather due to his astonishment, because this thief could be said to have a terrifying ability. What kind of place was his Divine Phoenix sect? Let alone an outsider, even if it was a mere winged insect, it would quickly be detected. But this thief, who was not sensed by anyone, stole into Phoenix Jade Hall, where all kinds of treasures were stored. If it weren't for the fact that he had inattentively touched an invisible profound formation during his theft, it could even be said that no one would have known that someone had already infiltrated Phoenix Jade Hall. What astonished him even more was that after the thief had activated the profound formation, which made all the experts in the sect become more vigilant, the thief had actually left with not the slightest of injuries under the heavy encirclement of innumerable Phoenix experts. For this, even if it was a genuine overlord, it was still nigh impossible to achieve. Royal Father, please calm your anger. There is only person in the entire Divine Phoenix Empire who is able to accomplish this. Feng Shicheng raised his head, continuing with locked brows. Hua Minghai. Hua Minghai? Feng Hongkong had on an overcast expression, but quickly reacted over. Ghost Mirage Sacred Hand Hua Minghai. Yes? Feng Shicheng nodded. In this world, there is only one person who can accomplish that. Hua Minghai's profound strength is not too great, but his speed and movement skills could be said to be peerless. Moreover, his ability to be extremely good at concealment, moving stealthily, changing his appearance, being soundless, and being good at escaping is unrivaled. No need to speak any further. Feng Hongkong waved a hand. We have also heard of this name. Known as the #1 thief in the world, Hua Minghai, who possesses a Ghost Mirage Sacred Hand. It has been said that no matter what he stole, he had never made a mistake, let alone be captured by anyone. Even his true appearance has never been seen by anyone. HMPH, but we never thought that this thief would actually be audacious enough to provoke our Divine Phoenix sect. Does he truly think that no one in this world is able to deal with him? Did you check what items the Phoenix Jade Hall have lost? Feng Hongkong said with furrowed brows. Feng Shicheng respectfully replied, what Hua Minghai stole the most were usually purple-veined heaven crystals and purple-veined divine crystals. However, the purple-veined heaven crystals and purple-veined divine crystals within the Phoenix Jade Hall did not decrease in the slightest, but we are missing a half-used stalk of Phoenix Helianthus. I'm assuming that it's because the thief was in a panicked state after touching the protective profound formation, and randomly took any item before hurriedly escaping. Half of Phoenix Helianthus. Even though Phoenix Helianthus were rare, the Divine Phoenix sect, they were not considered that precious of an item. Feng Hongkong snorted coldly, even though nothing really went missing, just the fact that he dared to charge into our Divine Phoenix sect has brought upon his own destruction. From this day forth, investigate all tracks of Hua Minghai within the entire empire. It's best if he were to be brought back alive, but if it's difficult to capture him alive, kill him on the spot. Yes? This son shall immediately give out the order. Even if that Hua Minghai has a heaven-high ability, he should still never think about escaping the palms of our divine phoenix sect. Feng Shichen promised. Then this matter shall be given to you to handle. Whether or not Hua Minghai is able to safely enter and leave our divine phoenix is worthy of being your test. Don't let us down. Yes, Royal Father, this son will definitely not let you down. Just as Feng Hengkong turned around to leave, his footsteps stopped at the doorway, and he said casually, before the start of the ranking tournament, Shui will be cultivating in seclusion within Phoenix Perching Valley. No matter who it is, even if it's for an enormous matter, they are not allowed to take half a step in the surrounding 25 kilometers around Phoenix Perching Valley. However, we are still a bit worried. When you are investigating Hua Minghai, arrange a few guards around the east, west, and north directions of Phoenix Perching Valley. Don't let anyone approach. If anyone dares to bother Shui, no matter who it is, kill them on sight. Yes, this son will immediately carry out the order. After Feng Hengkong left, Feng Shichen heaved a slight breath of relief. After a long period of silence, he once again became agitated. He paced back and forth in the hall for several tens of times before finally speaking with a low voice while creasing his brows, "Chihua, come in." A streak of flame flashed, and a middle-aged man around 50 or so years old appeared in front of Feng Shichen as if he had teleported there. He bowed, "Your Highness, what are your instructions?" "Leave the palace at once, and go secretly search for a person named Yunche in Divine Phoenix City. He's here to participate in the 7-nation ranking tournament, and he'll definitely appear within half a month. In fact, he may already be here. If you find him, assassinate him immediately. Remember, the more secretly you do it, the better. After you kill him, immediately destroy his corpse. It's best if you leave no traces behind." Feng Shichen said with an extremely evil expression. "Yes, Your Highness." Feng Chihua nodded in answer. "Remember, aside from you and me, no one is to know about this. Including my royal father." Feng Shichen's expression became grave. Shock flashed past Feng Chihua's face, then, he nodded without the slightest hesitation. "This old servant will not disappoint Your Highness. This old servant shall take his leave." When Feng Chihua left, Feng Shichen clenched both his hands as a sinister light of hatred flickered in his eyes. He said in a low voice, "Yunche, not being able to personally kill you myself truly would make it hard for me to dispel my hatred. But you must die before the ranking tournament. Once Blue Wind Nation is exterminated, that time's humiliation shall also be eternally buried beneath my feet." The next day, Yunche arrived at Divine Phoenix City's Falling Flame Merchant Guild as per Ziji's directions. Only after he had arrived did Yunche discover that this place was indeed as Ziji had said it was. Even though the name hung up ahead said, Merchant Guild, it was not at all an orthodox merchant guild. Truthfully speaking, it resembled an underground market. And it wasn't that big either. This stretch of area contained many similar type underground markets, and they all hung up the word Merchant Guild. However, as long as he could buy a Phoenix Helianthus, it wasn't really important whether it was a merchant guild or a black market. From a dark remote alley, Yunche saw the signboard engraved with the words, Falling Flame Merchant Guild. Beneath the signboard gracefully stood a young woman in the prime of her youth. Seeing Yunche approach, she took the initiative to welcome him. "Sir, are you here to participate in Falling Flames auction?" "Yes, I'd like to ask Miss to lead the way," Yunche said naturally. Back in Azure Cloud Continent, he had attended many black markets before. These sort of black markets were all places that pulled people in to make transactions. At the same time, they required one to pay a high admission fee. The escorting young women stated, "Today's Falling Flame auction will be selling many rare treasures, so the admission fee is a bit higher than usual. It costs 20 purple profound coins." 20 didn't sound that high, but it was 20 purple profound coins, a full 200,000 yellow profound coins. And it was even just the admission fee. Yunche didn't say anything further as he happily handed over 20 purple profound coins. The young lady in front of him absolutely would never think that there were millions upon millions of yellow profound coins on Yunche's chest. "Sir, please follow me." The young woman accepted the purple profound coins, then brought Yunche into a dark alley. After taking several turns on multiple roads, they walked into a concealed underground area. It was not wide, and there were only a total of 30 to 40 chairs. At this time, around 20-something people were seated in a scattered fashion. Even though this place was remote and concealed, none of the clothes these people wore were not extremely luxurious. Those who were willing to pay the high admission fee of 20 purple profound coins were in no way from a simple family. When Yunche came in, everyone present gave him a glance, one after the other. After perceiving that he was only at the earth profound realm, their faces all revealed expressions of disdain. Then, they all turned their heads without bothering to take another look. Earth profound realm at not even the age of 20 was a rarely seen genius in Blue Wind Nation, but in Divine Phoenix Empire it could only be reduced to a low-class individual. In the eyes of these upper-class boasters, it was simply not worth mentioning. Yunche obviously did not bother to take note of anyone here, as he randomly picked a place to sit. After Yunche, no one else came in. Not long after, a charming voice came over. "Sirs, we have made you wait for a long time." A hidden door opened, and a well-developed graceful woman slowly walked out. Following behind her was a grey-haired elderly man. The woman wore a close-fitting black garment that revealed every inch of her curves. Her beautiful eyes were like peach blossoms, bright and limpid as she looked at everyone present, and nearly stole their souls. "Yo, my little Chi-Chi, you're finally here. I've been anxiously waiting for you." A blue-clothed young man stood up. His eyes fixed at the young woman, casting amorous glances her way. Hee. The woman covered her lips and giggled, then said charmingly, "Sir Gongsun is always this impatient. This one promises everyone that today's treasures would not let anyone down. Sirs, you all should widen your eyes and watch me properly. Once we start bidding, don't ever show mercy. Oh, right, sirs who have come for the first time, this humble one is Xiao Qi, Falling Flame Auctions host. You'll have to visit often in the future, and come see me, okay?" This Xiao Qi woman's words were flirtatious, and her posture was alluring. Even though the men present still wore a deadpan look, their fingers fidgeted, and they secretly salivated. If one were to speak about those who were truly as calm as before, it would only be Yunche alone, because the difference between his two wives and this enchantress was just too wide. She didn't even arouse his male instinct, nor did she pique any of his interest. Has this lord ever let little Chi-Chi down before? The young man called Sir Gongsun gazed lustfully at Xiao Qi. "I just don't know if you, little Chi-Chi, is one of the treasures up for auction today? If yes, even if this lord has to lose all his property, he'll still gladly make the purchase." Hee, Sir Gongsun's so bad. Xiao Qi held out her hand to cover her mouth, and gave Sir Gongsun an extremely flirtatious glance which directly made his entire body go limp. 10,000 grass mud horses galloped through Yunche's heart. TL, grass mud horse, is a homophone of mother asterisk, thus used as a pun here. It has developed into a slang nowadays. The auction then finally got back on topic. Xiao Qi extended a dark green jade case from the elderly man behind her. With both hands clasped on the jade case, her charming eyes swept past everyone present. She said with a laugh, "In this jade case are 2 purple crystal jade marrows which contain the purest essence of an enormous purple crystal mine. If you use one to drive a profound arc, 1 purple crystal jade marrow could fuel a 50,000 kilogram profound arc for 200 hours. If you meld it onto a weapon with spiritual conscious, it could raise the weapon's intelligence by a lot, you know. Purple crystal jade marrow could increase a weapon's spiritual conscious?" Yunche's heart suddenly stirred. His dragon fault was exactly an emperor profound weapon with a spiritual conscious, but its intelligence was not that high. Currently, it could only automatically return if it left his hand, and release a dragon cry if it was angry. If it possessed a stronger spiritual conscious, he would undoubtedly gain a great benefit. He had only come for the Phoenix Helianthus, and never expected that he would run into this purple crystal jade marrow. Even though this underground auction was small, the things it sold were extremely remarkable. No wonder the admission fee was that high. "Oh, it's actually the purple crystal jade marrow." That young man with the surname Gongsun revealed an excited expression, this lord has been looking for this item for quite a while. I'd never thought that little Chi-Chi has it in hand, and it's even two of them. As expected of my little Chi-Chi. Quick, speak. What is the lowest price for these two purple crystal jade marrows? As Xiao Qi held onto the jade case, her charming eyes narrowed into thin slits. 600 purple profound coins. So Gongsun ought to understand the preciousness of the purple crystal jade marrow, so this price shouldn't be considered expensive, right? 600 MN, this price is indeed generous. The young man surnamed Gongsun beamed, then executed a half-turn while cupping his fists toward his surroundings. Friends, this humble one is Holy Sword Sect's Gongsun Yu. I urgently need this purple crystal jade marrow to raise my beloved sword's spiritual conscious, and wish that every friend here can be generous enough to allow this humble one to have it. Once the words, Holy Sword Sect's Gongsun Yu, came out, the expressions of many at the scene immediately changed, and the thoughts of bidding against him were also immediately pushed down. Holy Sword Sect could not compare with Divine Phoenix Sect, but it was also one of the famous sects within Divine Phoenix Empire, and a lord that should not be provoked within Divine Phoenix City. And this Gongsun Yi was also the youngest son of the current Holy Sword Sect master. A lazy voice sounded at this time, Lil bro Gongsun, since it's an auction, obviously the highest bidder would win. If you play like that, how's Miss Xiao Qi going to do business? Miss Xiao Qi isn't saying anything, but I can't bear to look on. Gongsun Yu was not at all angry upon hearing these words. Instead, he laughed heartily, and cupped a hand toward the person who had spoken. Brother Nalan's right, this little brother was only momentarily delighted, and was somewhat overexcited. This absolutely won't happen again. Once the word Nalan was heard, the faces of everyone present changed once more. The Nalan family was also one of the big shots within Divine Phoenix City, and were even 1,000-year-old friends with Holy Sword Sect. The one who spoke was personally named Nalan Xiong. His status within the Nalan family was also incomparable great. He seemed to be reprimanding Gongsun Yu, but in fact, they were using the fame of their two families to exert pressure on others present, firmly making them not dare to bid against Gongsun Yu. 2 purple crystal jade marrows for 600 purple profound coins, I'll take it. Gongsun Yu said with a face full of smiles. And at this time, an extremely ordinary, yet inharmonious voice suddenly sounded from one corner, 700 purple profound coins. Gongsun Yu's brows suddenly tightened. He turned his head around, and his gaze landed on Yun Che's body. He swept a glance at Yun Che's profound strength cultivation, then his eyes flashed with deep disdain. But if the other party was brave enough to bid against him, they might be from an illustrious family, so he didn't dare to rashly offend him as he said without sounding upset, "Friend, it seems that you are not going to give me, Gongsun Yu, this face." Yun Che laughed faintly. "What I want is the purple crystal jade marrow. What does that have to do with your face?" The corner of Gongsun Yu's mouth twitched. His complexion distinctly darkened as he sneered. "What you're saying is quite right. An auction's fight relies on strength, not face. Since you also want to obtain this purple crystal jade marrow, then we'll have to see if you have that ability." 1,000 purple profound coins. Gongsun Yu raised the price to 1,000 purple profound coins in a single breath, then glared at Yun Che. If this was an auction in the Black Moon Merchant Guild, he would never dare to have the slightest bit of arrogance, but in this underground auction, with his Holy Sword Sect's fame, he felt supremely qualified to be arrogant and overbearing. He absolutely did not expect that a mere earth-profound realm would dare to challenge his bid after his warning. With Holy Sword Sect's fame added to his great wealth and sudden increase in bid price, he thought that Yun Che would definitely be deterred, and did not expect the other party's expression to not change at all as he called out with incomparable calm, 1,100 purple profound coins. Casually calling out a bid more than 1,000 purple profound coins was definitely not something one could do without a deep and powerful background. As a son of the sect master of Holy Sword Sect, Gongsun Yu received about 20,000 profound coins yearly, which was necessary for an entire year's worth of training needs. Taking out 1,000 to buy the 2 pieces of purple crystal jade marrow was already his limit, and had furthermore significantly exceeded the value of the purple crystal jade marrow. But having acted arrogantly before, yet was now mercilessly counterbid, wouldn't all his face be thrown away if he allowed himself to be so easily suppressed? Gongsun Yu gritted his teeth anxiously, but maintained a calm facade as he called out, 1,200 purple profound coins. 1,500. Without the slightest pause or hesitation, Yunche called out right after Gong Sun Yu's bid. The faces of everyone in the room changed slightly, and Xiao Qi beamed like a flowering crabapple blossom. Previously she did not place much attention on Yunche, but now the gaze she used upon Yunche was tender, and her beautiful eyes almost started tearing up. Gong Sun Yu's face finally became unsightly. 1,500 purple profound coins was his expenditure for an entire month. Using that money to purchase 2 purple crystal jade marrows would have far surpassed his bottom line. Purple veined heaven crystals were the purest of essence bred by purple profound crystal mines, and purple crystal jade marrows were only secondary. 1,500 purple profound coins was enough to buy 50 grams of purple veined heaven crystals, so buying this purple crystal stone marrow was simply throwing away money. He turned around and said with a fake smile, "Friend, judging by how heroic you are, I assume that your family must be quite illustrious. It's not as if this one is saying that he knows of every prominent family within Divine Phoenix City, but I probably know most of them, yet you are very unfamiliar. Are you from outside the city? Oh, judging by your attire, could you be a friend from one of the 6 nations?" Yunche obviously knew what this Gong Sun Yu was intending to do. He inwardly sneered, and did not avoid the question as he directly answered, "Your assumption is correct. I am not a Divine Phoenix citizen, and instead is from the East Blue Wind Nation. But me coming from there doesn't really have anything to do with this auction, right? Blue Wind citizen?" Everyone in the room had originally been guessing at where Yunche had come from. They thought that since he had been so liberal with his money and was not afraid of challenging Gong Sun Yu, his family background ought to be extraordinary. Now that they had heard he was actually from Blue Wind Nation, there were none who did not reveal expressions of extreme disdain, even so much that some had expressions of mockery. As citizens of Divine Phoenix Nation, they had an instinctive contempt for those of other nations. Furthermore, of the 6 nations, Blue Wind was the weakest. In their eyes, a Blue Wind citizen would always be people of a lower class. Oh. Ha 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 ha, looks like it's a friend from Blue Wind Nation. Gong Sun Yu immediately laughed wildly as his previous unpleasant feeling of being suppressed by Yunche was instantaneously swept clean. "No wonder you're so set on this purple crystal jade marrow. I'm assuming you've never seen such a high-quality treasure in your Blue Wind Nation, right? Since that's the case, then this one is obviously willing to give way, only this one is a bit curious. What do you need purple crystal jade marrows for? Could it be that your reason is the same as mine, to raise the spiritual conscious of your weapon? Oh, no, in your Blue Wind Nation, a sky-profound weapon ought to be the most valuable of treasures, so you can't really use these purple crystal jade marrows for that. Besides, your profound strength is only at the earth-profound realm. It seems unlikely that you can even control a sky-profound weapon. As for being the power source of a profound arc. Blue Wind Nation actually has someone who is able to afford to operate a profound arc. The room immediately filled with unrestrained roars of laughter. In front of a Blue Wind citizen, even those at the lowest position would involuntarily have a kind of superior feeling. Why would they need to conceal their contempt for a lower-class person? After announcing that he was a Blue Wind citizen, Yunche obviously knew that this kind of scene would arise. There was not a single change in his expression, and without bothering to talk rubbish with these people, he took out 1,500 purple profound coins, then received the jade case that contained 2 pieces of purple crystal jade marrow from Xiao Qi's hands. Purple crystal jade marrows of good quality were only produced from large purple crystal mines, and possessed a fixed amount of natural spiritual nature, so they ought to be able to increase a weapon's spiritual conscious. It was just unknown as to how much of an extent it could raise. If the effects were distinct, then he'll try to get some more. And the following item for auction was the reason why Yunche had come. Xiao Qi took a jade case from the elderly man behind her, and said with a face full of smiles, "The second treasure is a medicinal ingredient. Even though it isn't as grand as the purple crystal jade marrow, it's actually more uncommon than the purple crystal jade marrow, you know." As she said that, Xiao Qi had already opened the jade case, and a flame-shaped plant appeared in their line of sight with a flickering red radiance. Right after, the jade case was immediately closed, to prevent its medicinal aura from leaking. Oh, it's actually a phoenix helianthus, someone exclaimed. Hearing the two words, phoenix helianthus, Yunche's gaze landed atop that jade case. Looks like he could leave early. Right, this is the phoenix helianthus, and it's even one that has just matured, a phoenix helianthus without the slightest of damage, you know. Xiao Qi said while beaming, everyone here should know that not only is the phoenix helianthus used in medicine, used to refine the meridians, and temporarily open profound entrances, it also greatly helps those who cultivate in fire attribute profound arts break any bottlenecks. It's just that once a phoenix helianthus appears, they are always immediately taken away by divine phoenix sect. And this one that I'm holding is the only phoenix helianthus in divine phoenix empire that's not of the divine phoenix sect. You wouldn't even be able to buy one in the Black Moon Merchant Guild. So, sirs, you mustn't miss this opportunity. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until next year at around this time to have the chance to buy it again. Xiao Qi's words sound somewhat exaggerated, but Yunche knew that it was not at all false, because he had went to Black Moon Merchant Guild yesterday, and the Phoenix Helianthus was indeed not there. After Xiao Qi finished speaking, he immediately called out, "What's the minimum price?" Xiao Qi's liquid eyes slightly shifted in Yunche's direction. She said softly, "Looks like this sir from Blue Wind Nation is also very interested in this Phoenix Helianthus. The minimum price for this Phoenix Helianthus is 1,000 purple profound coins." Even though Phoenix Helianthus were rare, they were absolutely not first-rate medicine. Furthermore, in terms of using it in medicine, it was extremely troublesome and had a high leakage rate. In regards to those who cultivate in fire attribute profound arts, it wasn't exactly that useful, so the price of 1,000 purple profound coins was indeed too high. It was evident that the sky-high price was due to it being the last Phoenix Helianthus, so those in the room did not show the least bit interest. But as soon as Xiao Qi finished her sentence, Yunche followed up, 2,000 purple profound coins, I'll take it. With 10 million purple profound coins at his disposal, Yunche's confidence was incomparably ample. He only wanted to quickly take this Phoenix Helianthus, and didn't want to waste any more time. The ranking tournament would start in half a month. To him, every minute and every second was extremely precious. The hell? Many people at the scene muttered out. Spent 1,500 profound coins to buy 2 pieces of purple crystal jade marrow, and now readily buying 1 Phoenix Helianthus for 2,000 purple profound coins. Was this Blue Wind brat rich, or was his brain messed up? After announcing that it was 1,000 purple profound coins, Xiao Qi was extremely nervous at heart, because she knew that this price was indeed a bit too high. But she never expected that as soon as she finished speaking, the price would directly double. She instantly burst with joy, and even her face had become brighter. To have immediately bid 2,000 purple profound coins, this sir from Blue Wind Nation is indeed magnanimous. This one just so happens to like this type of gentleman. Is there anyone else who wishes to put forth a higher price? This is this year's last Phoenix Helianthus, you know. If you miss this opportunity, even if you have even more money, you can't buy any more. The others were all quiet. What a joke, aside from a fire attribute profound art reaching a bottleneck or someone urgently needing to refine an important medicine, who would spend more than 2,000 purple profound coins to buy a stalk of Phoenix Helianthus. Seeing that no one replied, Xiao Qi walked toward Yunche while beaming, "Congratulations, sir. This Phoenix Helianthus is yours, you'd better hold properly." Yunche cleanly handed over 2,000 purple profound coins, and then took the jade case containing the Phoenix Helianthus. With the Phoenix Helianthus in his possession, today's objective had already been reached. What came next was only him finding a place to refine the universal pellet with the sky poison pearl. After that, he would use 2 or 3 days to refine it. His profound strength ought to reach the pinnacle of the earth profound realm, which would greatly help when he faced off against the divine Phoenix sect. As for the things being sold next, he was no longer interested. Just as Yunche was preparing to leave, a loud laughter came from outside. "Ha ha ha ha. Miss Xiao Qi, I'm so sorry, I met a few people who didn't have their eyes opened on the road, so I taught them a little lesson, which is why I'm late. I hope Miss Xiao Qi doesn't take offense." This sound was thick and heavy, and was clearly filled with might. Following the sound of this voice, a tall and sturdy figure wearing light armor strided in. This person appeared to be around 30 years old. Even though his build could not compare with Xie Yuanbao's, it was still especially burly. Especially his exposed muscles, each and every one of them bulged up high, and they seemed to flicker with a luster similar to that of metal, making those who had only used their eyes to glance upon him feel an explosive strength. His hair was red, and each of its strands stood erect towards the sky like an ignited flame. His body also emitted a thick aura of a fire attribute, profound art. As soon as this tall man appeared, the faces of everyone in the room distinctively changed, even the expression of the previously arrogant Gong Sun Yu tightened, revealing a deep fear. When Xiao Qi saw this person, it was as if she saw her biological father. All her facial features beamed with a smile as she gracefully moved up to welcome him. Ayo. So what are you saying? You coming here is an honor built by all of this one's lifetime incarnations. How could I possibly blame you? Come, Sir Shi, quickly come up and have a seat. The auction has only just begun, the highlight of today has not come yet. I believe Sir Shi would definitely be interested in today's highlight. You definitely did not come here in vain. Who's this guy that's so arrogant looking? A person seated to Yun Che's right asked his companion in a low voice. Didn't you hear Miss Xiao Qi call him Sir Shi? He's obviously someone from Roasting Sun Sect. What? Roasting Sun Sect? Divine Phoenix Empire's number 2 sect, second only to the Divine Phoenix Sect. Right? This person is named Xi Yang, 7th Young Master of Roasting Sun Sect. His innate talent is extremely monstrous. He's only 28 this year, and is already half a step into the Emperor Profound Realm. It has even been said that he's already going for the Emperor Profound Realm. In Divine Phoenix Empire, aside from the Divine Phoenix Sect, there is no one who would dare provoke him. The highlight Miss Xiao Qi speaks of obviously needs to be seen, but the main reason why this young master came here today is for the Phoenix Helianthus in Miss Xiao Qi's hands. Xi Yang said loftily, this young master's Emperor Profound bottleneck has already loosened, and breaking through is near at hand. I urgently need a Phoenix Helianthus to assist me, but that wretched Divine Phoenix Sect has already swept up all the Phoenix Helianthus. Fortunately, Miss Xiao Qi just happens to have one here. This Phoenix Helianthus, this young master here is taking it for sure. If anyone wants to fight over it with this young master, he. What kind of person Xi Yang was had nothing to do with Yun Che. He had already gotten up from his seat and was about to turn around and leave, but once he heard the two words, Phoenix Helianthus, from Xi Yang's mouth, Yun Che's steps immediately halted. Son of a bitch! Xiao Qi totally didn't know that Xi Yang came for the Phoenix Helianthus, otherwise, she definitely would not have sold it before his arrival. However, she was not the least bit panicked as she laughed. Looks like Sir Shi just happens to need a stalk of Phoenix Helianthus. You should have told me earlier, you know. As long as Sir Shi opens his mouth, this one would have personally delivered it to you at your doorsteps. But unfortunately, the Phoenix Helianthus in this one's hands has just been sold to another gentleman right before your arrival. What? Sold? Xi Yang's expression changed as irritation filled his voice. Sold to who? Who bought it? It's the last Phoenix Helianthus. I have to have it no matter what, even if I have to fight for it. Quick, tell me, who did you sell it to? A delighted expression surfaced on the faces of everyone in the room, as of mockery all successively shifted towards Yun Che. Xiao Qi said with a smile, Don't worry Sir Shi, the gentleman who just bought the Phoenix Helianthus is still here. So she can still have a nice discussion with him. Why, maybe he would even be willing to transfer it to you. Xiao Qi slightly turned and swung a hand in Yun Che's direction. It's this gentleman who purchased the last Phoenix Helianthus from this one's hands for 2,000 purple profound coins. Whether or not this gentleman wishes to transfer it to you will depend on Sir Shi. Xi Yang's gaze instantly shifted toward Yun Che. After probing his profound strength cultivation, an incomparably clear disdain hug on his face. He came over with huge strides as his entire body released a mighty pressure that would even make a middle-stage sky profound practitioner find it difficult to breathe. You're the one who bought the Phoenix Helianthus? HMPH, you have also heard what I just said earlier. Give the Phoenix Helianthus in your hands to me. Don't worry, I won't give you a coin less than the money you used to purchase the Phoenix Helianthus, or else people will say that my roasting sun sect bull is the weak. From Ji Yang's manner of speaking, he was absolutely not discussing, rather, he was roughly commanding him in a typical tone of voice that came from a strong practitioner to a weak. Yun Che's expression did not change as he said indifferently, "My apologies, this Phoenix Helianthus is extremely important to me, I won't be transferring it to you." HM? Ji Yang clearly had never thought that a weak practitioner at merely the earth-profound realm would actually dare refuse him, even under the premise that he would not pay a coin less. He didn't immediately explode. Turning his head, he said to Xiao Qi, "Where's this kid from? Seems like he's not willing to give me face." Before Xiao Qi could reply, Gong Sun Yu said delightfully, "Seventh young master Shi, this kid's obviously not from any ordinary background, or else how could he dare have the confidence to not yield to seventh young master Shi? TSK, he's actually an esteemed guest from the Eastern Blue Wind Nation." Against this esteemed guest from another nation, seventh young master Shi treat him a bit gentler, in the manner of our great nation, of course. Blue Wind Nation? Ha 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 ha. Once he heard the name, Blue Wind Nation, Ji Yang started laughing right away. Previously, when Yun Che had revealed that he was from Blue Wind Nation, Gong Sun Yu and company had all erupted in laughter as well, as if the name, Blue Wind Nation, was not a nation's name, but rather synonymous with a joke. Growing up in Blue Wind Nation, Yun Che never really felt it, but once he arrived in Divine Phoenix Empire, that was when he realized how much of a miserable existence Blue Wind Nation's status was in the profound sky continent. Only the words, lowly, and even ridiculous, could be used to describe it. He had finally understood why Kang Wanhe had such a deeply resigned, frustrated, and grieved expression on his face when he mentioned the seven-nation ranking tournament. People usually had a protective instinct toward their native homeland, and Yun Che obviously was not an exception. The nation he had grown up in was being willfully sneered at and held in contempt by these people as a completely inferior nation. He was incapable of not being filled with rage. However, compared to Divine Phoenix Empire, Blue Wind Nation was indeed just too weak. The disparity between them was like a lamb and a male lion. This was an inevitable fact. Ji Yang originally was afraid that Yun Che's background was extraordinary, which would cause him trouble, but now that he knew Yun Che was from Blue Wind Nation, why would he feel the least bit worried? He said overbearingly, "Kid, this young master's patience is awfully limited, hurry up and give me the Phoenix Helianthus. If this young master loses all his patience, don't even mention the Phoenix Helianthus, you won't even be getting half a profound coin back." "Heh? Kid, what kind of status does seventh young master Shi have? Him agreeing to even speak to you is already a great honor, you'd better not fail to appreciate his kindness," Gong Sun Yu sarcastically said on the side. Xiao Qi quickly faced Yun Che, and said softly, Sir, Shi urgently needs this Phoenix Helianthus, so just give it to him. I believe that Sir Shi will definitely be grateful, and maybe you two might even become friends." Yun Che narrowed his eyes, his voice was still extremely flat. "I said it before, I need this Phoenix Helianthus, not transferring." "Very well. Looks like you're refusing a toast and want to drink some punishment wine instead. I'll ask you one last time, you going to give it to me or not?" All the muscles on Shi Yang's body bunched up as his face filled with anger. Yun Che said coldly, "I was the one who bought the Phoenix Helianthus, so it already belongs to me. I have the final say in what will be done to it. And it's not you telling me to give, that I'll give. If you want a Phoenix Helianthus, go look elsewhere, I don't have time to keep you company." After he finished speaking, Yun Che immediately turned around with the intent to leave. "You have the final say?" Ha 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 ha, Ji Yan laughed wildly, "Naive kid, your daddy here will properly give you a lesson today. No matter what, in this world, it's always the one with the harder fist who has the final say." Ji Yan extended a hand, grabbing toward Yun Che's shoulder. His arm was much more thicker than Yun Che's thigh. In comparison, Yun Che's build was simply too frail, as if it was not able to withstand a single blow. He laughed evilly, and just as he was about to grab at Yun Che's shoulder to lift him up, when he used force, Yun Che actually did not move one bit. Shi Yang's eyes widened. The muscles on his arms instantly bulged as his veins popped out and he fiercely lifted, yet Yunche's body still did not move one bit. Let alone being lifted, he didn't even move a single step. Shi Yang was inwardly shocked. Even though he faintly sensed that this was unusual, he got even more angrier as he said in exasperation, "I'll let you have a taste of how hard your daddy's fists are." He released his hand from Yunche's shoulder, then formed his grip into a fist. His fist ignited with purple flame as he violently punched toward Yunche. Beneath the faint agitation, he used no less than 99% of his strength in this fist, not caring at all if Yunche died on the spot. The other party was only an inferior profound practitioner from Blue Wind Nation anyway. Even if he died, there would be no repercussions. Sir Shi. Shi Yang's actions made Xiao Qi let out an alarmed cry. The others were also shocked. The entire room screeched with profound energy under Shi Yang's fist, and it was obvious that he had used all of his strength. No one present had the confidence that they could withstand this fist, and it was very likely that Yunche would directly become meat paste after this strike. Bang! Shi Yang's purple flame-ignited fist firmly smashed onto Yunche's chest, and released an extremely dull thud. Under the dispersing profound energy, the entire room violently trembled and all the chairs that were not sat on all shattered without exception. A long crack had even appeared on the marble tiles beneath their feet. How could the strength from someone half a step into the Emperor Profound realm be minor? It made everyone present tremble with fear. In their apprehension, they were even more shocked that Shi Yang would use such a heavy hand toward a mere Earth Profound practitioner from Blue Wind Nation. This seemed to be a bit too much, but once they glanced toward Yunche, they were instantly dumbfounded and they did not dare to believe their own eyes. Shi Yang's hand was still on Yunche's chest, but Yunche wasn't knocked flying at all. He didn't even move back half a step, nor did his expression change at all. Instead, the face of Shi Yang in front of him that was originally filled with arrogance was unexpectedly covered with an extremely twisted expression. At this time, the light armor on his right arm was suddenly shattered into fragments. Streams and streams of blood rushed out like a flood released from a dam, instantly dyeing his entire arm red. It was as if Shi Yang had woken up from a nightmare. He stumbled backwards, and grasped at his perception that he had already lost as his right arm drooped down. He let out a painful moan that he tried his best to stifle as both his pupils enlarged, brimming with deep terror. You. This fist of yours doesn't seem to be that great. Yunche extended a hand and patted the clothes on his chest with a revulsed face. Then, his expression suddenly turned cold as he smashed a fist at Shi Yang. Shi Yang instinctively held out his left arm to block it, but with Yunche's great way of the Buddha, even if he didn't use profound energy, his raw arm strength reached up to a terrifying 10,000 kilograms. How was Shi Yang capable of blocking it? Only a crack was heard as Shi Yang's arm bones were broken into several pieces. He let out a miserable shriek like that of a dying pig as he was ferociously struck flying, and his entire body sunk deep into the stone wall in the back. No matter what, they had never expected this kind of scene. Everyone was stupefied on the spot. What kind of status did Shi Yang have? What kind of monstrosity was he? Seventh young master of Roasting Sun sect, half a step into the Emperor Profound at 28 years of age. He instantly suffered a crushing defeat beneath Yunche's hand, and could not fight back at all. It was absolutely not because Shi Yang was weak, or that he had held back. The fist he smashed at Yunche obviously contained all his strength. Instead, it was because the strength of this Blue Wind practitioner, that they had held in contempt and ridicule, was just too terrifying. Shi Yang's attack that contained all his strength had actually not harmed a single hair on his body. Yet his casual fist had directly shattered the bones on Shi Yang's arm. What kind of terrifying body and strength was that? A chill rushed up their back. They had always been looking down and sneering at such a terrifying freak. Especially Gong Sun Yu, his entire person sat glued to his seat, his complexion was deathly white, and under his shock, his body did not dare to move a single inch. Yunche's figure swayed, and then had already arrived at Shi Yang's front. He extended his arm to grab at his throat, as though he was lifting a chick. Shi Yang's robust body was directly pulled out from the stone wall, then was fiercely smashed on the ground. He lowered his gaze to look at the blood-effaced Xi Yang and said indifferently, "Do you still want the Phoenix Helianthus in my hands?" Before Xi Yang regained his senses, he had already been directly smashed into serious injuries by Yun Che. He laid on the ground, gasping for breath. "I am Roasting Sun Sect's 7th young master. If you dare to touch me, Roasting Sun Sect, we'll never let you get away with it." Yun Che narrowed his eyes, and laughed coldly. "Your words are not bad. The one with the harder fist is the one who has the final say in all matters of this world. Yet someone who does not have enough power still dares to be arrogant, now that's seeking death." As Yun Che's voice fell, he stomped a leg onto Xi Yang's chest. Xi Yang's eyes bulged out as he violently spurted out a spray of blood. "Stop!" The grey-haired elderly man who had always stood behind Xiao Qi yelled out, and suddenly took action. A streak of cold light launched toward Yun Che. Immediately after, a throne-level might enveloped the entire room. Since the matter had grown to such a state, he definitely could not watch on without lifting a finger. Otherwise, if something permanent happened to Xi Yang, it was extremely possible for Roasting Sun Sect to take out their anger on Falling Flame Merchant Guild. "Get out of the way." Even though this grey-haired old man was a genuine throne, he was only at the first level of the Emperor Profound Realm, a low-level throne. To Yun Che, he was simply not a threat at all. Without even turning his head, he flung out his arm and a phoenix break broke through the air, colliding with that streak of cold light. The cold light completely dispersed instantly, yet Phoenix Break had not diminished at all as it directly smashed at the elderly man's chest. Startled, the old man hurriedly blocked. After retreating 7 or 8 steps back, did he barely manage to withstand Phoenix Break's might. However, both his sleeves had been burned to a crisp. "This is Phoenix Flame," the elderly man said in shock. "You're from the Divine Phoenix Sect." Everyone clearly saw and felt the Phoenix Flame Yun Che had flung out. That was undoubtedly the Phoenix Flame. It was impossible to falsify, and Phoenix Flame was a profound flame that only the Divine Phoenix Sect possessed. Someone who was capable of releasing Phoenix Flames could only be a member of the Divine Phoenix Sect. A person at the pinnacle of the entire Divine Phoenix Empire. HMPH. Yun Che snorted coldly. He didn't reply, and obviously was not dumb enough to deny it. Xi Yao knew that he had kicked upon an iron plate. Under his remaining shock, all he thought was how he was going to dismember Yun Che's body into 10,000 pieces someday. But once he personally saw Yun Che fling out that phoenix flame, his entire body trembled acutely. He would never be able to return this hatred. Divine Phoenix Sect was an existence that Roasting Sun Sect absolutely could not afford to provoke. His Roasting Sun Sect was known as the number 2 sect in Divine Phoenix, but the difference in strength between the two was as different as the sky and earth. So it's a brother from the Divine Phoenix Sect. It was I, who had eyes but did not see. These injuries are not at all unjust. Ji Yang had on a begging attitude. How could he possibly be the least bit arrogant and forceful? If I had known earlier that it was a brother from Divine Phoenix Sect, even if I had guts as large as the sky, I wouldn't dare to offend you. If brother doesn't feel satisfied, please leave me your sound transmission imprint. I will personally visit with a gift to apologize another day. Being beaten until his bones were shattered, organs receiving injuries, yet still needed to anxiously apologize. This was the huge deterrence and influence Divine Phoenix Sect had in Divine Phoenix Empire. Everyone else in the room had already stood up, and firmly stood in place. They did not even dare to breath in too deeply as they looked at Yun Che with eyes filled with reverence. As for Gongsun Yu, who had been continuously sneering at Yun Che, he was sweating profusely. Both his legs quaked and it seemed as if they would collapse at any time. That elderly man stepped forward and said while trembling, "For an esteemed customer from Divine Phoenix Sect to be here." This old man had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and even allowed esteemed customer to be disturbed. "I truly deserve death." "Xiao Qi, what are you staring blankly for? Why haven't you given him back his profound coins?" Yes." Xiao Qi was also somewhat pale with nervousness as she fumbled to get the purple profound coins. "No need." Yun Che moved his leg away from Xi Yang's chest. "You don't need to be that nervous. I am not the type of trash near my feet that relies on force to bully another. As long as others don't provoke me, I won't bother to provoke others. You may continue. After he finished speaking, Yunche no longer paid any attention to anyone as he turned around and walked toward the exit. Everyone followed him with his eyes as he stepped out while secretly heaving a sigh of relief. No one dared to say anything, lest it catch his attention. Once he arrived in front of Gongsun Yu, Yunche suddenly tilted his head and coldly looked him in the eye. With a startled cry, both of Gongsun Yu's legs went limp as he fell on the ground with his butt. Only until Yunche had walked very far away did he recover his senses. He had nearly lost control of his bladder. Divine Phoenix sect ruled over Divine Phoenix Nation for 5,000 years, its fame had long been well established. Its deterrent force was at a level that other nations were unable to understand. Yunche couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If the Blue Wind Emperor was also this strong, the previous turmoil in the imperial family wouldn't have happened. Just as he was about to exit the room, a peculiar sensation suddenly came from behind. Yunche's footsteps paused, and instantly turned around. Seeing every face filled with reverence, with a few terrified ones, his gaze briefly swept past each and every person. After slightly knitting his brows, he left with slow steps,